So I got drafted, and fortunately, my dad was smart enough to send me off to Iowa State before I was 18, and I got 2 quarters in as an engineer. So the Army, in its great wisdom, decided to make me a combat engineer, which was a hell of a lot better than being an infantryman as far as I was concerned. So I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Now, when you're from Sioux City, Iowa, Columbia, South Carolina is eons away. It took us 5 days on a damn train to get there. So we got there, and all of us soldiers get off the train, and the first sergeant got us all lined up there. And he's calling the roll, and he says, "Fife," and I yelled, "Fife." And from that moment on, I was Fife in this organization. So anyway, that was in March of 1944. And so we went through basic training and learned to be a combat engineer. And I became a demolition specialist. Now, it's hard for people to realize, here's a kid who grows up in Sioux City, Iowa, and suddenly is handling explosives. I had no more idea of doing that in the Man in the Moon. So, in the training, we were primarily learning to build bridges and take care of roads. That was our primary mission. But we also were taught to be infantrymen. Combat engineers have a secondary responsibility. And so we ended up, fortunately, going to Europe. When we were in training, we had no idea which direction we were going to go. But in retrospect, I've always felt that we were lucky to go to Europe rather than to the southeast. However, when I got to Europe, and it was colder than hell, I wasn't so sure that was really a great decision, but it worked out all right. But our primary role was to go to Europe and take care of the roads and all the things that engineers do.
And so you showed up there. Were you right around the Battle of Bulge time frame?
Yes. I mean, the Battle of the Bulge was, as I remember, right around Christmas time of 1944. 44, yeah. And we got to the continent right at that time. But our unit went to Luxembourg. It primarily was helping General Patton's army make a 90-degree turn and go north to help stop the Germans. And so the roads had to be taken care of, and that's what our unit was doing. So during the actual combat at Bastogne, we were working on roads and keeping the roads open for the Patton's army to get up there. Our unit eventually eliminated the Germans, the last Germans from Luxembourg, in a little town called Vianden, which is on the Aare River, right across from the Siegfried line. And so the 1255th Engineer Combat Battalion turned into an infantry outfit for a brief period of time. February 12th, 1945, we got rid of all the Germans, the last Germans in the country of Luxembourg.
The combat engineers I always have to always want to give them their due, because they continue to keep roads open. And when we were fighting in Ramadi, it was the combat engineers primarily that they had the duty of mine clearance, and it was a brutal and obviously a highly dangerous job for them to be out there clearing those mines and keeping those roads open. It's a hell of a job.
Well, as a demolition specialist, one of my jobs was mine clearance, and I was operating a minesweeper on this road down into the valley at Vianden, and behind me were two tanks from the cavalry unit, and the Germans could see the tanks. I guess they could see us too, but they sure as hell were looking at the tanks and shooting at the tanks, and a lot of their machine gun fire would ricochet off the tanks, and that's how I got hit, with ricochet off the damn tank. It got into my leg and arm, but superficially. I mean, all I did was go back to the aid station, get bandaged up, and back into my unit. It wasn't any hospitalization at all, that kind of stuff.
Another 50-cent wound for you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had a lot of those.